So, today I want to start with a question. When is the last time we felt completely safe? Not just physically safe, not just nothing bad is happening safe, but deeply, quietly at ease. The kind of safe where shoulders drop without being told to, where the breath doesn't feel like held, where the mind isn't already three steps ahead of us, where we are not scanning the room, monitoring our tone, replaying a conversation, or quietly preparing for something to go wrong. For some of us, that feeling is rare. For some of us, it is so unfamiliar that we might not even recognize when it arrives. And for many years, we may have not questioned it either. We would have just called it life. We call it stress. We call it being responsible. We call it, my favorite, adulting. But what if it is something else? What if some of what we call as just getting on with life is actually a nervous system that has never fully learned how to feel safe? So, welcome to the Thoughtful Doctor, where medicine meets humanity. Now, this is the final episode of season 1. And I wanted to end this season by bringing together the threads we have been exploring together, like shame, overwhelm, feeling behind, reactivity, sadness, anxiety, loneliness. The body carrying the emotional weight. At first, these may sound like separate experiences, but underneath them, you will see there's a pattern. A body that braces, a mind that scans, a nervous system that works hard in the background, even when life looks fine from the outside. So, today, I don't want to offer a quick fix. I want to offer a framework, a way of understanding why some of us move through life feeling like we are always on, always managing, always preparing or holding something in our body. Because sometimes the question is not, why am I so anxious or why am I like this? Sometimes the better question is, what has my nervous system learned about safety? Now, most of us know the basic idea of the stress response, fight or flight. The body senses danger and prepares us to respond. The heart rate rises, the muscles tense, the breathing changes, and that is real. But it is not the whole story. One helpful way to understand this is through the Polyvagal Theory, developed by neuroscientist Stephen Porges. Like any framework, it is not the only way to understand the nervous system, and it does not explain everything either. But it just gives us useful language for something many of us recognize in our bodies. That the nervous system does not simply move between calm and stressed. It moves between different states, and each state changes how we feel, think, connect, react, or rest. A simple way to think about this is thinking as safety, activation, and shutdown. When we are in a state of safety and connection, the body feels more settled. The breathing is easier, the face is more open. We can listen without feeling defensive. We can respond rather than react. We can be curious, playful, present. We can rest and actually feel rested. Now, this is a state where connection feels possible, where we can be with other people without feeling like we have to perform, where the world feels manageable enough. Not perfect, not problem free, just safe enough. And that phrase matters, safe enough. Because for many of us, safety is not a permanent state. It is something we touch briefly, then lose, then search for it again. The second state is activation. Now, this is the fight or flight state many of us know very well, where the chest tightens, the jaw clenches, the breathing becomes shallower, the mind speeds up. We scan, we predict, we look for what might go wrong. Now, this state is there to protect us. If there is a real danger, it is very useful. But when we live there too often, ordinary life starts to feel threatening. A delayed message feels personal, a small criticism feels enormous, a change of plan feels like too much. And we may start calling ourselves difficult, over dramatic, too sensitive, or maybe someone else starts doing that. But often what we are seeing is not a character flaw, it is a nervous system in protection mode. The third state is shutdown. And this is one which can be harder to recognize because shutdown does not always look dramatic. It can look quiet, flat, disconnected, exhausted, or numb. It can look like not caring. It can look like laziness. It can look like procrastination. It can look like withdrawing from people, not replying to messages, not being able to start things. But shutdown is not laziness. It is a nervous system conserving energy when things are feeling too much. When fight or flight has not worked, or when the system has been activated for too long, the body may move into collapse. Well, not as a failure, but as protection. And this is very important because these states are not moral choices. We do not decide to be anxious. We do not decide to shut down. We do not decide to feel unsafe in a room where everyone else seems fine. The nervous system makes many of these assessments before conscious thought. It is constantly reading cues from the body, from the environment, from other people, from the tone of voice, facial expressions, the pace, the silences, the past experiences. Now, this automatic reading of safety and threat is sometimes called as neuroception. It happens below awareness level. Before we have words for it, before we can explain why something feels off. And if our nervous system has learned that the world is unpredictable, it may scan more closely. If it has learned that connection can be painful, it may stay guarded even with people who love us. If it has spent years under pressure, it may struggle to return to the baseline even when the pressure reduces, even when life looks fine. Because the nervous system does not always update simply because circumstances change. It often needs repeated experiences of safety. Small ones, ordinary ones, but consistent ones over time. And this is where the whole season starts to connect. Shame is not just a painful emotion. It can be a nervous system experiencing imperfection as danger. Overwhelm is not just too much to do. It can be a system that has reached capacity. Reactivity is not just poor patience. It can be the body responding before the thinking brain has caught up. Sadness is not just weakness, it is often a signal that something mattered. Anxiety is not always proof that something is wrong. Sometimes it is the mind jumping ahead to just protect us. Loneliness is not always the absence of people, sometimes it's the absence of being understood. And the body does not carry symptoms just to inconvenience us. Sometimes it carries what has not yet had space to be felt. Now, these are different expressions of one human system trying to survive, adapt, and be understood. And I think many of us can recognize this. We finish a busy day and still cannot rest. We finally get a quiet moment and feel restless instead of peaceful. We receive kindness, but we do not fully trust it. We sit with people we love and still feel slightly outside the room or an outsider. And we wonder, why does this feel so hard for me? Why can't I just relax? Why do I feel so much? But there is not just one answer. For some people, the nervous system has been shaped by trauma, by chronic stress, by grief, by early environmental experiences where emotions were not safe, by years of masking, by years of having to be strong for too long. For many people, it is a mixture. But there is another layer too. One I want to move towards next season. Some nervous systems are wired differently from the beginning. Not broken, not wrong, just different. Some people take in more, notice more, feel more, process more. They may be more sensitive to the sounds, the light, texture, tone, rejection, uncertainty, or the emotional shifts in a room. They spend more energy filtering the world, more energy appearing fine, more energy doing what other people seem to be doing automatically. And when that is not understood, it can quietly become shame. A child who's overwhelmed becomes dramatic. A teenager who cannot start becomes lazy. An adult who is exhausted becomes not resilient enough. And someone who feels deeply becomes too sensitive. And slowly, we build an identity around being misunderstood. We think the problem is us, so we try harder, we mask more, we push through, until the body eventually says no. This is where the language matters. Because once we have better language, the story changes. Not I'm broken, but my nervous system may be working harder than anyone realized. Not that I am too much, but I may be processing more than I knew how to name. Not I'm bad at life, but maybe I have been moving through life without the right framework. I know this personally. For a long time, I thought this was just adulting. Being tired all the time, having a mind that never really switched off, feeling like rest was something I had to earn, carrying tension in a body and calling it normal, being overwhelmed by ordinary things and assuming everyone else was just coping better. I thought adulthood meant feeling permanently behind, permanently responsible, permanently slightly braced. I thought I simply needed to be better at life, more organized, less affected, more resilient. or maybe less intense. But I understand it very differently now. Sometimes what we call adulting is actually a nervous system that has never been given enough safety, space, or support to recover. And understanding that has been one of the most important shifts of my life. Not because it has given me an excuse, but because it gave me context. And context can be deeply healing. Because once we understand the nervous system, we can stop arguing with it. We can stop asking, why am I like this? And begin asking, what state I'm in? What does my system need? What helped me soften even slightly? And what feels safe enough? Not perfectly safe, not magically calm, just safe enough. And safe enough often begins in small moments, like a conversation with a friend that goes beyond the usual catch up. Not just how are you, busy, same, but a real conversation. One where we say the things underneath, one where we don't have to make it sound polished. And afterwards, we keep thinking about it. Not because it was dramatic, but because something in the body noticed that felt safe, that felt real. I didn't have to perform there. And those moments matter because the nervous system does not only learn safety from big life events. Sometimes it learns from one honest conversation, a cup of tea held with both hands, a walk where the mind quietens a bit, a person whose presence makes our breathing easier. The nervous system heals through experience, not just information. We can read the books, we can know the words, but the body learns safety by experiencing safety again and again in small, ordinary, repeated ways. Now, sometimes that happens through another person because we are not designed to regulate alone all the time. A calm voice, maybe a steady presence, someone listening without rushing to fix, someone staying when emotions arrive, someone seeing us without asking us to perform. That kind of connection is not sentimental, it is regulating. Now, movement can help too. Not punishing movement, gentle, rhythmic movement like walking, stretching, swimming that helps the body release what it has been holding without feeling threatened. Breathing can help too, especially longer out breath. Not because breathing solves everything, but because the body listens to rhythm. A longer exhale can be a quiet signal that we are not in an immediate danger, and predictability can help. For a nervous system that has spent a long time scanning, routine is boring. It can be a relief. Now, as we close season 1, I want to name what this season has been really about. It has been about human feelings, but more than that, it has been about the systems underneath them. The shame underneath forgetting, the overwhelm underneath coping, the anxiety underneath preparation, the loneliness underneath being surrounded, the body underneath everything we have tried to bury, and finally, the mind underneath it all. So, this season began with trying to understand experiences many of us live with but don't always have language for. And the more we explored them, the clearer the pattern became. Some of us have spent our lives working harder than others realize, feeling more, noticing more, masking more, recovering more slowly, being affected more deeply, trying to appear fine while our nervous system was doing so much behind the scenes. And for some of us, that has never been personality or just being too much. Sometimes there's another layer, a different way of processing the world, a different nervous system. And that is where we begin our next season. I want to talk about what happens when the world expects one kind of brain and we spend years trying to make ourselves fit. I want to talk about masking, about late recognition, about the quiet grief, and the unexpected relief that can come when we finally begin to understand our own wiring. And yes, I want to tell you more of my story. But for now, before we finish, here is this week's Thoughtful Doctor prescription. This week, I want us to notice one moment when the nervous system softened. Not force it, don't manufacture it, just notice it. It might be a conversation that felt easy, a song that settled something, a walk where the thoughts quietened, a message that made us feel remembered, a moment where we didn't have to explain ourselves. A small signal from the body that said, this feels safe enough. So notice that moment, stay with it for a few seconds, longer than usual. Let the body register it. Because these moments are not small, they are evidence. Evidence that the nervous system can learn. evidence that safety can become familiar, evidence that we are not stuck as we think we are. So let's take a slow breath in and a longer breath out and hold this thought lightly today. Maybe we were not built wrong. Maybe our nervous system has been working harder than anyone realized. And maybe understanding it is where the safety begins. So until next season, we are not failing. We are just learning something we were never taught or we have never thought. Because the world moves fast, but understanding people and minds take time. Thank you and take care.